Welcome to an interview with Dr. Tony Miller, business consultant. He's worked in over 36 countries in the last 10 years with some of the world's most prestigious and well-known companies. He's the author of 33 books, 10 of which are available as audiobooks with publishers such as Apple, Barnes & Noble, the Financial Times, Oracle, Pearson's, and Business Expert Press of New York. His latest book, Critical Leadership and Management Tools for Contemporary Organizations, is due for release this year. It's a good predictor of how organizations will have to change if they're to remain effective and successful. Hello, Dr. Tony Miller.
Hi there.
Dr. Miller, there are around 57,000 books on leadership. What makes this one different?
Well, that's a very good question. Obviously, Business Expert Press seem to think this one is significantly different. And I think the issue with leadership books is they sort of fall into a number of different categories. There's sort of the professional copywriter that looks around, picks up articles and knocks a book together. And I think that's probably the majority of leadership books. And they talk about all the old ways of motivating staff and that sort of thing. And they're just hopelessly out of date with today's times. Then you've got the sports people, you know, Joe Bloggs, who was a 100-meter runner, suddenly decides that he was the leader of his team of one and writes a book about his performance as a runner and how it relates to the wider world. So you've got these type of books out and about. And in actual fact, if you're probably honest, there's only probably about 5 really good leadership books a year. But where this book is significantly different is the world is changing and changing so fast that managers are really no longer required. They sort of don't seem to have any future use. So, you know, the way of managing talented people in particular is not by managing them, it's by giving them, you know, appropriate leadership.
So that is the new way. Now, you mentioned there that some leadership books, or many of the leadership books that come out, are out of date because they're just regurgitating old information. I think you were slightly ahead of the game because last time I interviewed you, you predicted that there'd be a massive change in the way things work, and particularly in the number of people we employ. What is happening so far this year because it is proving you right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this year, I mean, if you just take January, for example, 1 month, 60,000 people in the IT industry were let go in America. And worldwide, there are 1,400. How people get this exact figure, I have no idea. But there's 1,400 IT people losing their jobs every single week. But it isn't just IT, you know, the impact of AI is absolutely immense. So you've got companies like Disney, for example, got nothing to do with IT. They've just announced they're going to let go 7,000 people in the very near future. Amazon, 10,000 people. And it's huge, huge numbers, which, you know, is due to two things, two very dissimilar things. One is AI, and it's almost ironic that the people that created our AI are the first casualties, and huge casualties. The other is, of course, is managers. I mean, I've been on for years the fact that they all they do is manage. You know, they recruit more people and they recruit poor performers. They're not accountable for their recruitment decisions. And what most companies have found is that they are massively overstaffed. And of course, now, you know, AI's moved in. AI is sort of saying, well, hang on a minute, these are poor performers. You know, what are you employing them for? And, you know, you've got a huge release of staff, talented people who we all want and can't get, are not prepared to be managed at all. You know, their way of working and their expectations is so completely different. So if you want an organization with talented people in, you've really got to have very, very good leadership. And you've really got to think very, very differently.
So it sounds like it could be a good time for talent then, for the right
Oh,
talent.
yeah, for sure. If you're classed as a talented person and you have the right skill set, you can sort of virtually write your own check. And unfortunately, managers, old-fashioned managers, just can't get their head around it. They go, well, I've been here for 40 years, and he'd be one increment above me, and they just can't understand it. And neither can HR departments. HR departments in general are in the ice age. Really, they just can't seem to move quick enough or understand that the world has changed and it's not going back. As I quite often say, the horse and cart isn't going to make a return. It's gone.
Yeah, it's an amazing time. It is amazing what's going on. What can readers expect in your new book then?
Well, we talk about new methods of leading people and how to pay, motivate, and retain talented people. Also, quite strong in the book is what are we going to do with existing managers? Because if you look at them, there's only a very small percentage that could sort of make the transformation into becoming a leader. And once again, it's AI, but we have profiles now of people who will be good leaders, and we know that profile very well. So we can just do a profile on somebody and sort of see whether they're the right material to be a leader. And likewise, when you're talking about rewarding talented people, I mean, I said in a previous book, we ought to be prepared to pay 800% bonuses. And the HR people, the first people to complain, 800%, I only get 5%. Yeah, well, you're probably only worth 5%, so you are, keep quiet about it. But, 800% bonuses are, quite in order as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, what you pay people as long as you're getting the results. And if
Hmm.
they produce the results, why worry?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what it's all about. That's the return on investment, is the results,
Yeah,
which can be
yeah,
turned into profit. Yeah.
yeah.
It is interesting that, you're saying that leadership, good leadership is the future, bad management is the past. And it is strange that we've had these managers, named managers, because you can't manage people, especially talented people. You can't manage them. You can manage time, you can manage projects, you can manage budgets, but you can't manage people. You have to lead people if you're going to
Yeah.
get results.
Sure. Well, they're smart enough to know what to do, and they're smart enough to know, what's required and how to produce results. And if you look at really interesting leaders at the moment, and you'll probably go, oh, I mean, Elon Musk is the man,
Yes.
whether you like the guy or not. At the end of the day, it's all about profitability. And he can cut through an organization like a hot knife through butter. He will do things that managers have thought about, 30 years ago, but did nothing. And he'll just get on with it. And then you've got a guy I'm very, very keen on is Sam Altman. And most people never ever heard of Sam Altman. Who is Sam Altman? Well, Sam Altman used to be referred to as the god of Silicon Valley. A young guy, I hope he won't mind me saying this, but he's very, very forthright, almost obnoxious. But he comes up and he gives people the space to grow and perform and achieve marvelous things. Well, Sam Altman is the guy that's just invented Chat GPT. And that is a direct link into AI, where you can ask AI questions and get answers. So for $47 a month, you can lock up to this service. And shortly after this released, there was a top 10 of jobs that are going to vanish, because there's no need to ask a professional. You can just pay your $47 a month and go on to Sam's site and get an answer direct from AI. So you've
But
got
the
10.
impact was that quick.
Oh, it's instant. You pay your money, find out what's happening. This month, there is a court case going on, and the defendant is being defended by AI. And the prosecution haven't got a hope in hell. So the legal
Wow.
profession, as we know it, is just going to disintegrate. If you're unfortunate enough to have had a divorce, you will know that the solicitors, God bless them all, um, bleed you to death. I mean, when I had my divorce, it was £28,000, and we got no children. We had no children. We weren't disputing anything, but they just keep, asking endless questions that nobody's the slightest bit interested in, really. And while all the time they're doing that, the bill's racking up. Well,
Yeah.
AI would just say, these are the facts. This is the settlement. And that will be it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which will free up time for people to do other more creative things, won't it? If we're not
They're
bogged down by
like,
process. So I
yeah.
suppose that processes will have to change too, won't they, in the
Well,
future?
that's what's in the book. It's in the book is a lot of there's a lot in there about what processes you can change instantly that will make a massive, massive difference to how the organisation is run. I mean, one of the processes is, of course, my favourite, performance appraisal. I mean, all the research shows that people get demotivated every time they have a performance appraisal.
Well, they
So
dread it for 3 weeks before they go in for it. Yeah.
and then they come out, their heads are down, and they're like the Walking Dead for a month.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a stupid process that HR put in, but won't take accountability for, and managers hate it. And all the manager does is tell you what you did wrong over the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's very little motivation in that. And yet it could be a spectacular motivational tool. All you'd have to do is spend an hour briefing the managers on the way to do it properly, and you could spin the whole process round and make it
Yeah.
into a profit. You could
Yeah.
change the process into a big profit.
Yeah. Because that one in particular, the appraisal, I know someone, or they shared with me a thing. They were early for work every day for a year. They were the first in the office, first in consistently. And when they did their appraisal, it had timekeeping, and he gave him 9 out of 10. And he said, "How did you only give me 9 out of 10?" They said, "Well, we have to always leave room for improvement." He said, "I was
That's
first in
yeah,
every day," and
that's
that's
true.
where process gets in the way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is absolutely stupidity, isn't it? I
But
mean,
that's
I
going on
was
in the
asked.
corporate world. That kind of thing is going on in all
Oh, I
kinds of
know.
levels because process is so revered.
Yeah. I well, one of the reasons I became self-employed is I had a bad appraisal. I was the second highest earner in the company, and I had a bad appraisal. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And halfway through the appraisal, the problem was with my bonus. I bought this really nice Porsche that I'd always wanted, and from where I was sitting, I could see the car and the sun was shining on it, and I wasn't really paying attention. And I just suddenly said, "That's enough." We got up. That was it. That was the end of my job, and I've never ever regretted it. I should have done it years ago. But I mean, what a cheek! Yeah, second
Yeah,
highest earner in the company, and there's somebody telling you all the things you did wrong. Oh
yeah,
yeah, I earn lots of money.
yeah. And I think maybe that's the thing that managers lost sight of is that the talented people, they can see a slightly bigger picture than all the little targets that you're trying to hit every
Yeah,
week, month, or quarter, or
yeah.
year, you know. Okay, so it sounds like we're in for a big change, but with your new book, you can help people through it or be ready for when it happens in your organization at whatever level in the organization you're at. Would that be correct?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the planks of the book is to say that you can either be a passenger in the rear seat or you can be a driver, and the tools are there for you to make a really, really, really big difference to the organisation, or be
Tone,
prepared, or be prepared to parachute out the organisation because so many jobs are just going to disappear. Universities in the UK have been told to stop training so many doctors because AI will be doing the diagnostics. You won't be
right.
sitting there listening to some doctor telling you about, you know, what he thinks is wrong with you. AI give you a very, very accurate diagnostic online. You won't even have to go down to the doctors, queue up with all those sick people, risk getting COVID, risk getting a parking ticket. You won't have to do any of that.
Yeah, you'll be more likely to see the doctor in person on the golf course than in a GP's office. Tony's latest book will be available for pre-order soon from Business Expert Press of New York. It's called Critical Leadership and Management Tools for Contemporary Organizations. It's book 33 by Dr. Tony Miller from Business Expert Press New York. Dr. Tony Miller, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Graham.